So, I've got something super cool for you today. Welcome to English Speaker Podcast. I'm Amy.
And I'm Jack, and if you're just tuning in for the first time, this is the place where you learn English by just listening to real conversations.
Today we're tackling something that trips up like almost every English learner. And honestly, it's one of those things that once it clicks, it just clicks. We're talking about be, been, and being.
Oh yeah, I've heard so many people say, like, I have be there, or she has been working. And it's one of those mistakes that's super easy to fix once you understand the logic behind it.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing today. We're breaking it down in a way that actually makes sense. No grammar textbooks, no stress, just real talk.
All right, so let's start with the basics. Be is what we call the base form of the verb. So it's the raw version, the one that hasn't been conjugated yet.
Right? So you'd use be after modal verbs like can, will, should, must. You know, those helper verbs that kind of give extra meaning to the sentence.
Exactly. So you'd say you should be careful or she might be at home. You never say you should be or she might being. Those just don't work.
Why not though? Like, what's the rule that makes be the one that goes after modals?
Great question. So modal verbs are always followed by the base form of any verb, not just be. It's like I can swim, not I can swims, or I can swam. Modals kind of reset the verb back to its simplest form.
Oh, so it's not even specific to be, it's just all verbs go back to base form after a modal. That actually makes it easier to remember, like it's the same rule for everything.
Exactly. And, you know, be also shows up in commands or suggestions, like be quiet or be yourself. Just the raw, direct form.
Now let's move to been. This one's the past participle of be. And it always goes with have, has, or had. Always. That's its whole thing.
Been is always a team player. It never shows up alone. So, I have been tired lately. She has been really busy. They had been waiting for hours. Always with have, has, or had.
Okay, so if I hear been in a sentence, I should immediately look for have, has, or had somewhere before it.
That's a perfect trick, honestly. And been is for situations that started in the past but are still connected to now, or that happened over a period of time. Like, I've been learning English for 2 years. It started in the past, but it's still happening.
Oh, so been kind of carries this idea of duration or a connection between the past and the present. That's actually a really cool way to think about it.
Yes. It's not just, I learned English 2 years ago, and been learning, keeps it alive, it keeps it ongoing. And that's actually really powerful for how you express yourself in English.
Okay, so now I'm guessing being is the ing form, right? The present participle.
Exactly. Being is the ing form of be, and it has 2 main jobs. First, it works with is, am, are, was, or were, to describe something that's actively happening right now, like she is being so kind today.
Interesting. So being kind of emphasizes like the active, the in-progress nature of something.
Totally. She is being kind suggests she's actively doing it right now, like it's her current behavior in this moment, whereas she is kind is just a general statement about her personality.
Oh, that's a subtle but really important difference. So being adds this sense of this is happening right now, in this specific moment.
Exactly. And the second job of being is as a gerund, which is basically when a verb acts like a noun. Like, being late is really rude, or I love being outdoors.
So in those cases, being is the subject or the object of the sentence. It's doing the job of a noun.
Okay, so let me see if I can summarize this so far. Be after modals, been after have, has, had, and being with is, am, are, was, were, or as a noun thing. Gerund. And if you're ever unsure, just ask yourself, what comes before the blank?
That question-first approach is so useful, honestly. Like, you don't even have to memorize a bunch of rules. You just look at what's before the gap, and that tells you everything.
Exactly. And one more thing, being can also work in passive sentences like the cake is being eaten or the project was being reviewed. So whenever you see that passive structure with is, was, were, being is your word.
It's like once you start noticing these patterns, you start seeing them everywhere. In songs, in movies, in conversations. And that's when it really sticks.
Okay, so before we wrap up the main part, any final tips for someone who's still getting confused between the three?
Honestly, the best tip is to just practice with the 3 triggers. Say those out loud, like 10 times. Make it physical. Make it something your mouth just does automatically.
That's such a practical tip. And I'd add, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Like, native speakers will always understand you, and each mistake is just, a step closer to getting it right.
Absolutely. Language learning is messy, and that's totally okay. The fact that you're here, listening, and practicing, that already puts you way ahead. Seriously.
And hey, if this conversation has been helpful, give us a like. It really helps English Speaker Podcast reach more learners like you. Now let's go over some vocabulary from today.
Okay, first word, base form. The base form of a verb is its most simple version, without any endings.
Every verb has a base form, and it's the one you find in the dictionary. Every verb has a base form, and it's the one you find in the dictionary.
Next, modal verb. Modal verbs like can, will, and should always come before the base form. Great. Gerund. A gerund is when a verb acts like a noun, usually by adding ing to the end.
Being patient is one of the most important skills in language learning. Being patient is one of the most important skills in language learning.
Next word, ongoing. If something is ongoing, it means it's still happening or continuing right now.
Learning a language is an ongoing process that never really stops. Learning a language is an ongoing process that never really stops.
Ooh, good one. Duration. Duration means the length of time that something lasts.
I've been studying English for a long time, so the duration of my learning is like years. I have been studying English for a long time, so the duration of my learning is like years.
Next, passive voice. Passive voice is when the subject of the sentence receives the action instead of doing it.
In a passive sentence like the cake is being eaten, the cake isn't doing anything. It's receiving the action. In a passive sentence like the cake is being eaten, the cake isn't doing anything. It's receiving the action.
Perfect. Conjugate. To conjugate a verb means to change its form depending on the subject or tense.
When you conjugate be, you get forms like am, is, are, was, and were, depending on who's doing it. When you conjugate be, you get forms like am, is, are, was, and were, depending on who's doing it.
Excellent. Participle. A participle is a verb form that can function as an adjective or combine with helper verbs.
Been and being are both participles of the verb be, but they work in totally different ways. Been and being are both participles of the verb be, but they work in totally different ways.
And our last word, trigger. A trigger is something that causes or signals another thing to happen.
In grammar, the word before the blank is often your trigger. It tells you exactly which form of the verb to use. In grammar, the word before the blank is often your trigger. It tells you exactly which form of the verb to use.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of English Speaker Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below telling us what was most useful today.
Thank you so much for listening. It really means the world to us. I'm Jack.
And I'm Amy. See you in the next one on English Speaker Podcast.